Good morning, and welcome to Hey I Can't Sleep with me, your host, Jordan James. I'm having a rough night. I had a nightmare, night terror. Woke up, I don't know, 4ish in the morning, 4:05, and God, they suck. Any of us who have nightmares or night terrors out there. So I put the kettle on, having a decaf tea, because I'll have to try and fall back asleep at some point. Had a little cry because sometimes when you have nightmares they're sad and scary. Well, not sometimes, all the time. So I'm feeling a little out of it. I thought, you know what, I should make a video about this so that other people know that they're not alone when this happens. I met someone recently who told me her story, and it was a horrific story. And she was so young, in her late 20s, and she had already endured like a really horrific abduction, and it was terrible. She was abducted by her abuser, and he did very not nice things. And she talked about night terrors, and when I look at this person and I look at myself, there's this similarity in the way that we can occupy space with a level of vulnerability that only people like us kind of understand. If you're working in social services, I encourage you to pay attention to that energy, to really understand that the kind of trauma that some people experience manifests itself in this kind of like gazelle trait. Um, this fight, flight, fear, submit way of just even standing in a room. We find each other because it's a language that is tactile, and there's a primal, unspoken kindness or combustion, depending on how matched that energy can be and what level the relationship takes. But when it comes to night terrors, this person and I connect well, and we can talk about it. And it's a really unspoken part of mental health that can, I take medication to sleep too, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. It just depends. You think about medications. Some of them you build tolerances to, so they're not long-term solutions. And if you're in any kind of psychiatric therapy, like talk therapy of kinds, like exposure therapy, which is what I'm doing at the moment. I've been doing it for a while because the only way to treat post-traumatic stress disorder is to deal with what caused it, and you are reliving your experiences because the goal of the therapy is to take what's happened out of your primal survival part of your brain and from your amygdala and move it into your subcortex part of your brain so that you can process it logically and know that that threat no longer exists. And it's a really intricate, complex process that people go through depending on who they are, what type of trauma they endured, how long they've endured it for. And that will kind of make or break how things are going to go. But one of the side effects are flashbacks, flashbulb memories. Things are coming out of the meat locker, so to speak. You're going to regress a little bit. because you've been pushing these things down for a reason. And they're going to want to bubble up. And they're going to come out as night terrors sometimes. Nightmares. But another good thing to do is to do dream therapy. So that you kind of have an ally, you know. My psychiatrist and I, we cope ahead. We have done this, coped ahead. He taught me to do this, where we plan what we would do in a dream if something were to happen to kind of help control it. And I've had success with this, but it takes practice, and it takes energy, so it can be a bit exhausting. But what I find works better for me is after I've woken up and I've had some time to think about it. Because sometimes when I wake up, I still feel those same thoughts, feelings, sensations that I was having in the dream, and they are very real. That's the thing about flashbacks, or people with PTSD. We dream more vividly because we have to remember situations to survive more intensely. That's where hypervigilance comes in. You're always kind of on edge, surveying. So, after dreams works better for me. And what I do is I go into the dream and I say, what stands out the most to me about this dream? And my adoptive mom has done this kind of dream therapy with me. So I go in, and I'm probably going to get this all screwed up. When I talk to her, I'll get the perfect version, but I have my own version built off of the one she taught me. So what I do, long story short, I go back into the dream and I say, what was it specifically that stood out the most to me in that dream? And I'll find out what that is, and then I'll say, why do you think it stood out to you in the way that it did? And I'll just go with my first instincts. I won't try to analyze it 100% and try to make it into something it's not, because the key is to just go with what comes up. Because eventually you're going to forget about your dream. It's just the way our mind works. It's about processing all the stress and stuff about your life. And then I offer to give it a gift, to thank it for explaining to me why it's there. I ask it what it would like. I say, okay, let's say it was, I don't know, I have this reoccurring tornado, and it's terrifying. That's what I dreamt about last night. So I have these dreams where I'm in my house and it's nighttime, and I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden the room starts to shake, and I hear the rumble like a tornado does when you're watching it on like Discovery Channel or Twister or whatever, and I'm asleep and it's dark, so I can't see that the tornado is coming. All I can do is hear it, and it's absolutely terrifying. And I open the windows, and as soon as I get close to the window, I can kind of see the twister in the rising sun. This always seems to happen just before dawn. So dawn's just breaking, and I can hear this thundering twister, and I'm in front of the glass windows, but you just know that the glass is going to break, because every time you see a scary tornado movie, there's always some woman who's like, look out, the tornado, and then the glass breaks and it's like in her eyeballs, and it's just terrible, right? So of course that happens. So the glass breaks and it's in my face, and I'm screaming, and I can't find anybody, and it's dark, and this tornado is just rummaging everything, and I wake up and I'm like bawling my eyeballs out, and it's terrible. My heart's pounding. And so I say, okay, well, obviously, some people would say, well, what stood out to you the most? And they'd say the tornado. But what stood out to me the most was the fact that it was dark. So that's why it's different for everyone. Because the tornado is just a part of the environment for me that has nothing to do with me. The tornado is just about not being able to control things for me. That's what the tornado represents. Tornadoes are uncontrollable. But for me, it was the darkness. It was the fact that, you know, that in itself is a form of not being able to control, being able to see, having to trust and use other senses to make sense of things, having to trust that darkness is just as much a part of light as light is of darkness. And that sounds profound, but that's what I got from the dream. So, what do I want to offer the darkness? Well, I want to offer it a flashlight. Because there needs to be that balance, and that's kind of how dream therapy can work sometimes. So, turn on the light. So, that's what I did. I came out here, I lit a candle, I made a video, because I'm feeling like holidays are hard, having mental illness is hard, trying to keep family and community going is hard, dealing with treatment is hard, but there's also, I'm going to get corny, like a Bon Jovi concert. There's also light. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's light in the beginning of the tunnel. There's just fucking light. So use your mindfulness and find it. There's always beauty in the beast. Regardless, the beast will be there. And eventually the beast will become beautiful. I mean, think about it. That's how I feel about Beauty and the Beast. That's my favorite story. I actually got kind of upset when the beast changed back to a man. Everyone was like, oh yay, he's finally, but I thought, you know what? Loving him as a beast, why wasn't that enough? I guess that's what I get from that. There's light in the dark. So, I'll end with that because I'm going to have to go back to bed because my medication's making me tired again. Okay, so until our next adventure, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Maybe there'll be more holiday videos. Love you guys, and sleep on it because it will be better in the morning. Ciao, Bellas.